Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it.
Welcome to the show, guys. My apologies for the microphone fail yesterday. We had the most viral thumbnail, title, and content set up to resurrect the Kaspa community. And what happens? We get technical audio issues, which almost underlines the point that we were trying to make. It's these young guys who went to school to study audio video, who understand how to build social media content that really have the edge here on YouTube. Meanwhile, when it comes to trading, it's the older generation that's been in the octagon for decades already that's been coming up on top. So make sure that you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And we're going to jump into in-depth dive on why Kaspa's about to break to the upside, not just looking at this zoomed out inverse head and shoulders. We're going to go a step deeper. Everything that we cover here, from fundamentals, because that's what we'll do first, into technicals, is a managed learning system and a standard operating procedure. The reason why we structure all of our content and trading around these two formats is to get away from trust me bro logic, which is what ended up getting Kaspa all this negative vibe on social media. The younger generation stepped up. They figured, hey, KRC20, that's going to be good for Kaspa. What was actually happening was just what happened in AVAX. You're getting money from institutional investors no longer going into on-chain, but to building on-chain directly with the KRC20 launch. Also parallel with an FOMC data. And we're going to jump into the dot plots and take a look at some other key features because there's some big catalysts coming up on the horizon. A lot of this upside that's been popping off, as we talked about in VIP on Moonwell, we were like, yeah, this is going to cause some upside as well as on Spectral. But what it did on the AI projects was absolutely rocketed. And that's this document right here. It's called the FOMC minutes. This is the official statement from the Fed regarding their last meeting. And as we know, it was this date, September 18th, that kicked off the start of this massive rally. And this is going to be quite a rally. Not only is it the central banks fueling everything, but Joe Rogan, of all people, just had this guy. You guys recognize this name from doing your research, right? This is this dude right here. He was one of the guys, the early web developers, Monster Brain. He created like Netscape or some sort of web browser. He's like a Google creator, like top tier, all out baller. Of such class and rank, he's directly inside the White House, hanging out with the president, hanging out with everybody. And they're telling him, this is what he disclosed in the Joe Rogan podcast. This prior administration, and I know this is tough for everybody who leans left. The party's shifting. They've kind of changed their face recently. It would kind of be like, let's say you're a college kid and you're like, oh yeah, pro marijuana, but the Republican Party, they're not for that. And what we're talking about here is crypto and AI, specifically Kaspa. And we're going to link actually all of this regulation that this gentleman's talking about and the insanely huge run up in XRP, ADA, and XLM directly to Kaspa. Like it's on very soon. And we're going to give that catalyst to you guys right now. So stay tuned to piece this together. So I know this is tough for the Democrats, but they're anti-crypto and they're anti-artificial intelligence. We're not trying to talk politics here. It's just regulations. And regulations are extremely important. Looking at what stopped the prior bull market, first it's central banks, and then it's government regulation. These guys always work hand in hand. So they've got the AI Safety Act. They've got the Crypto Safety Act. They've got Gary Gensler up and running like a rabid maniac. And what this guy is leaking to everybody on Joe Rogan is there's flat out saying, yeah, don't even bother making any of your startups, bro. You can just take your spec. You can take your TARS AI. And you can take your, this was the trading plan for TARS from August, acknowledging that it had some upside. Looking back, it would have been great. I would have wished I would have bought this myself personally because this absolutely rocketed. Going from right around 10, 11, where we were waiting to get in off of this rally, it's already up to like what, 45, 50 now, just insane upside. And it's based on what this guy's talking about. They were like, it's only going to be 3 companies. That's it. So you might as well just forget about your entire thing. We're going to go one step farther while we're on this page and start connecting this guy and what he's talking about to Kaspa. And then we're going to link it all into XRP, Cardano, XLM, and HBAR. These projects all just saw a massive run. Now, what everybody on social media is saying is totally wrong. They're not looking close enough into central bank and regulation policy. What's actually happening is what this dude's talking about. There's this huge regulation. It's called Choke Point 2.0. The Obama administration started this to remove legalized marijuana, firearms, adult entertainment away from the banking system. So they're like, yeah, you might be able to do it. You just can't use a Visa, a MasterCard, and you can't have a bank account. So good luck with that one, bro. Same thing with crypto. I own a crypto LLC. You can't own a bank account. They're just like, yeah, you can't do it. They've debanked it. It's pretty crazy, huh? You have to use your personal account to cash out on Coinbase. Send me a DM. I see you guys looking for the Discord server. Send me a DM and make sure that you find the collections. I was chatting with some guy and they're like, where are all the call outs? You got to find this menu right here by hitting the collection button and then find any one of my posts and send me a community chat and I'll send you the Discord link and get you hooked up. And you can also share with me your portfolio and we'll correlate it to the macroeconomic trends. So you'll be able to link all the projects you have on chain, start developing formulas and ideas, just like on Moonwell. Notice how Moonwell took off like a rocket right on rate cuts. As we planned, we had it in this watch list down here for projects that were about to start running, all correlating the holdings to macroeconomic trends. Same thing with Kaspa, the short sale, KRC20, incorporating macroeconomics. But before we get into the technicals, yeah, some guys were asking about buying more spec in the Discord, and we'll bring up the tips that we gave them for finding this swing low that we're at right now in a minute. With all technical analysis, backing it up with fundamentals goes hand in hand. That's why I almost find it amusing that some of these content creators that just wrecked the Kaspa community and then blamed it on the chain. When you go to their VIP, they just openly admit, I don't do my own charts. What that means to me is they go on Fiverr and you can hire people to do charts for you. They probably got a handful of people doing charts for them on Fiverr, and they're just like Bill Gates. Because if you don't understand the charts, how can you understand the project? It's too interconnected. And I truly believe that the missing piece to all of this is the FOMC rates. As we've been showing in our videos and in our call outs and VIP, this is what's missing. It's cryptocurrency, guys. It's connected to monetary policy, like hand in hand, interlaced fingers, like very tightly connected with Satoshi's secret design and everything. So the massive run up is all because of they're getting ready to undo this debanking. We can see Brian Armstrong, the guy from Coinbase right here, and he's talking about these debanking regulations, anti-money laundering. That's what they call it. They come up with these fancy names. And all they're saying is, yeah, you can't have a bank account. Oh yeah, it's terrorists. It's people doing illegal stuff, right? They're just making it up because they want to control it and harness the power for themselves. Very simple to comprehend. This is all going to get removed with JD Vance. He's already been groomed. He's going to step up and start streamlining crypto. And once that regulation stepped into place, that is what cued off XRP, ADA, and all of these other ones, even HBAR. Did that see upside? I didn't check, but I bet you that these all just saw upside, and it's all because of one factor. They're all ISO 220 compliant. Guess who's filed for this and is going to pass? The KII put Kaspa in. Kaspa is about to become full ISO 222 regulated. Once they pass that, massive catalyst, paralleling with a bunch of other news. Getting ready to rocket everything to the upside. Let's go a bit deeper here into this guy's VC firm. So these are the top dogs who wait till they see FOMC data and then they make a move. They're market makers, they're seed fund investors. These are the guys that we focus on copy trading. And by correlating our trades with FOMC meetings and data, we can sort of moray these guys, follow them around, and obviously make huge gains, as we've been showing. Like with this recent spec call out, that was insanely upside. Then we see the head and shoulders and the pullback, but we'll get into that in a second. Staying on task, look at who this guy invests with. His frequent co-investors, which means they're sharing a bag together. Right on the top, his number one is Coinbase Venture. His number 3 is Polychain Capital. So we're already seeing a connection to Kaspa. This regulatory catalyst is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And it's all gearing up with these rate cuts and the dot plots. So the big news that's about to take place is this FOMC meeting, or this jobs data release before the FOMC meeting. This is going to take place in 5 days. It's on December 6th, a Friday. At this December 17th meeting, it's going to be super important because they're going to adjust their dot plot, which they do every so often. You can see, here's another format of that exact document we were looking at. These are the previous projections. You can see they're planning on making the rate cuts not as low. And now they're like up at 4. New data comes in. Now they've got to cut rates down even lower. And everybody who's been watching the show, we already know Satoshi's secrets as they cut rates. This is the Fed's monopoly money game that they're playing with the entire economy of the world to fight inflation. They're holding everything in treasury bonds. Part of its rate cuts, as you can see right here, February 20th. These are the 1 year. And then look at the date when it picks back up. November. Watch this to remember when to sell. Watch the rate cuts. This can be the clue that the bull market's completely over. Right there, February 20th. There's the top. It's all controlled by the central banks. 100%. It's almost criminal that the majority of social media and crypto doesn't cover this stuff because it's spot on accurate. Satoshi designed Bitcoin every 4 to 5 years. They cut rates. It's this global liquidity cycle. When they designed Bitcoin, they made the cuts, the halving happen with the cuts. So it just absorbs that like a sponge, affecting the supply and the demand, soaking up money. Rate cuts, halving, rate cuts, halving. You see? They're synchronized because Satoshi's a genius and he knew about this stuff. You're a cryptographer, you're a crypto trader. Now you know all about this stuff too. Goes hand in hand. So this jobs data is going to be huge because what we want is the jobs to be weakening. Therefore, the Fed must cut rates even lower to stimulate the economy. And they also have to do quantitative easing, quantitative tightening, which is another factor. But we get into that in a lot of videos. Let's stay more on chain here. So huge stuff happening in this update from the FOMC, whether it's on the 6th or the 17th. Is going to be what Kaspa specifically needs, and then we'll get into the altcoins in a second, to start breaking out. Inside of our managed learning system for classical patterns, one of the concepts that we cover in both the pattern directory and the videos on using classic patterns with the repeating trendline system, which we're about to get into, this is zoomed out. We're going to zoom all the way in on this chart and get every minuscule detail so we could even leverage trade off of it, even this high up. When you see a larger classical pattern, it's often formulated of briefer time frame patterns within there. And we're seeing repeating on Kaspa this head and shoulders pattern. And this is the psychology of the market. It's showing that the sellers are met with an equal force of buyers. And now on this right shoulder, on this third shoulder, it's showing the buyers are finally overpowering the sellers. Once we get above this 18-cent trend line, now we're inside of an entirely new pattern that's been going on for a year. The broadening wedge. This is all over crypto right now. It's on the total 3 chart right here. There's a beautiful broadening wedge pattern that just broke to the upside, coming off of these 2 falling wedge. Also bullish patterns. Locating classical patterns. This is part of the standard operating procedure. We have the printout for everybody's trading journal, so you can just look at it and be like, okay, broadening wedge goes up 100, falling wedge 150 to 200, and all the variations in between. Just quick at glance reference. So the inverse head and shoulders into the broadening wedge. The broadening wedge yields an average 100% upside. So with this breakout, surpassing this top resistance line, which is in blue here, we break out around 24, 25, getting us right to the 50-cent range on this break. Super juicy stuff. Smoothie. We are going into all the details on getting the entry right now. And the way that we're doing it is I'm going to share with you guys this managed learning system and the standard operating procedure. This is known as the repeating trendline system. It's not just on Kaspa, it's on every crypto, and it's caused by the emission and halving schedules. It creates this phenomenon of trend lines that will repeat aggressively over and over again. And once we find one of these origin trend lines, and there'll be 2, an x-axis resistance and a y-axis support, our insight on that chart gets extremely stronger. Just a quick 60-second flash into Tau to show you another example, just so you realize I'm not insane. We posted this in VIP here. Keeps finding this x-axis resistance on all these levels on the fib pitch, the gray zone bouncing off of the Y zone acting as resistance. When we zoom out, we just clone that Fibonacci pitch from here. And as you can see, it's the same trend line. It's the same trend line. It's just the same trend line that keeps repeating. And we're seeing this on Kaspa with the X and Y axis repeating trend lines all the way from back here. Zooming into the 4-hour, get a more crisp looking chart. The original x-axis trend lines all the way down here. We get a breakout and then it repeats itself here, here, and here. The y-axis, this was the original y-axis right here. Way back in our old videos, we were looking for it to start picking up. It starts finding support there. Excellent. Now we've got our entire Kaspa chart good to go. We get our Fibonacci channel. We measure the maximum contact points. We got all this contact on the golden pocket here. This is exactly how we had it set up 400 days ago. Zoom out, that now becomes this resistance, this angled resistance. Just like a lot of social media thinks, oh, XRP and all these ADA, they just rocketed because it's the old traders from last cycle. They're buying their own bags. They couldn't be closer to wrong there. When you see these 3x, like multiple billion-dollar candles, that's not retail, broski. That's not retail. That's the bigger players who are working with central banks and regulation. That's like this guy and his gang of merry men. So we've got this resistance. People will think it's 20 cents. We will smoke through 20 cents like a hot knife through butter. Our real resistance will be at 18 and then 25. One of the ways that we are able to use this, we had these projections up for shorting the KRC20 launch. Fundamentally, we realize as the rate cuts are happening, this is going to divert capital away from Kaspa on chain and into stuff like AVAX, building the trader Joes, which always causes a historical downside, like we showed in AVAX. Once they get their capital injection, then you get these really big run-ups. And right here is when they were building trader Joes. So it's a diversion of capital off chain. And these guys have so much money, they're not trying to make a bag. They're just trying to like fight inflation also, which is something to keep in mind when you think about who's really buying this stuff. These guys just own so much cash. They're just trying to get 10, 12% yield as they just destroy the world, engulf the world. So recognizing this X-axis trend line, we were able to take one, place it at the prior breakout right here on August 1st for the BOJ carry trade. And we knew it would bounce off there to the day, to the dollar, 18 cents, September 18. That's a spooky prediction. And then using that Y-axis that we just did, we came up with, and for 50 days ahead of schedule, Halloween at 12.5 cents is pretty close to spooky accurate. So this is the standard operating procedure, and we have loads of videos, charts about this, probably 100 pages of technical analysis and 100 pages of fundamental analysis on here. This is like a book on trading from Barnes & Noble that's of trades that just happened, amongst other things. So we're seeing this exact trend line. So all we have to do is take the X-axis and place it at the last breakout, which was here. Zooming in. So what we're finding, let's zoom out just a smidge, is price has stopped. Everybody's thinking, well, it stopped right at 17 cents. It also stopped at the X-axis. So this is our big resistance. Now, when you break out of an X-axis, what you'll get is a retracement to bounce off of the top of it very often. Sometimes you'll just get a rocket ship to the upside, but you'll often get a retrace back to it. So on the 6th, when this jobs data comes out, this can be enough to get us up, check back, bounce, and then we're gone. Once we find this lateral support wick-off method, it's on like Donkey Kong. Now, this could happen at a higher level, looking historically back at the prior breakout. So we get out of the gravitational field, right? We kind of wicked off it. That was weird. But then we get this lateral bounce here and this lateral action, and then the breakout. Crossing this, that's a big deal. When we get on the other side of this angled trend line, the X-axis, that can be enough for us to really get rock and rolling here, because all we have to do is get over 18 cents, and then we'll go right up to 25. So this is the inverse head and shoulder which should take us right up to the 25 zone. Statistically, it does. Let me rephrase that. Takes us right up to the 25 zone, and then we'll be ready for the 10 BPS upgrade and the end of quantitative tightening, which is going to be huge, putting more liquidity on the market. Hopefully, we'll get some quantitative easing, which will be even better. Yes, dude, awesome. Awesomest VIP. Thanks for letting everybody know, because helping people is what we're here to do. Watching the Peace Fudge Mafia, and they're just not putting the whole puzzle pieces together. It takes a decade of trading before you can get to the level where all the call outs that you're making are like, get the Spectral, get the Moonwell. We got the whole column for Moonwell because, dude, we traded Moonwell like flawlessly. This is another reason when you're starting to think of, well, what am I going to get for a bag? Something that you can trade really well helps. So right now I'm torn between DEAI and Moonwell. DEAI is one of our 24-point gems. This means that I typed up 8 or 9 pages about why it's so good. And it was just recently like a top 90-day swing trade, going from 15, 17 cents to 80 now. So we got trading plans on all the 24-point gems. Spectral just really rocketed. We were getting everybody here at 9.25, and then like 48 hours later, the stock market was closed on Thanksgiving. And everybody who's read the 24-point report on Spectral, we know who's buying it right now, right? So while the stock market's closed, right, this guy and his merry men, they're just pigging out on Spectral, these type of guys. Later, they're going to get ready to distribute this all to retail. So it's going to be epically fun. Whole section on Moonwell, including it would stop at $10. We were like, yeah, back off. This is a top. Psychological levels. Psychological levels. Yeah. A lot of good stuff in there. We got a trading plan for TARS too from way back. I showed you guys that already, but it has details on why we liked TARS originally was because it started creating feeder protocols. Like I want to say dojo or something with the word dojo in it. I have it in the trading plan. They're just working for TARS. So with BitSensor, we see that a lot, right? Like GTAI, there's a load of these other AI projects that are just like working for BitSensor. Once we saw that, we were like, yo, TARS has got some heat. And we were like, yeah, just wait to get it at like 10 cents. And it absolutely ripped. My biggest regrets from VIP trades that I didn't personally make, that I posted for everybody, we have a 24-point report on this bad boy. This is the Alex Becker one. With the buy zone at 15, everybody was in Discord like, yeah, let's get some of this. Trish got some of it. And then boom, this totally ripped. So we've got a full report on this. And the thing about it is, and you can tell right away, like the first page of the report, we've got to classify words, like these really nerdy Web3 words that are very intimidating, you know, trying to keep the layman out. We can figure all this stuff out, guys. It's not that complex, particularly with AI. AI has been huge in the success of our VIP group. All of our trading plans on the conceptual level, like shorting Kaspa KRC20, buying Moonwell on rate cuts. I spend days talking with AI programs, cross-vetting them back and forth with AI to figure out these trading plans on a conceptual level. Because humans, for one, we don't know everything. We make tons of mistakes and we have bias. AI just knows. It's an awesome tool. its whole design, GPT-4, is to predict the next character or word in a sentence.
Exciting now.
Therefore, in my opinion, it can kind of see what's coming. And as long as you know how to ask it the right questions, it'll absolutely rip. Let's take a look at this Altcoin. Oh, wow. Okay, and this looks like it already had a previous market. So in terms of was it legit or not, it was already on the market during the prior cycle, and now it's seeing upside gains? Yes. Now let's see what it was. What did it do during the rate cuts? We'll have to zoom in a little bit more. So this is something that we're checking. How did it do on September 16th and 18th? It did okay. It got a reaction, not a really big one, but this was much more geared up to regulation. This looks like it was rocketing side by side with XRP and gang. Because of that ISO 2020, because of all of the deregulation. Let's see if we can match these dates up. So we're talking like November 11th, November 21st, November 28th. Yeah. Yeah. So now let's see what it does. Yeah, it is exactly. So we already read what the use case was just by looking at the chart. How it ran up with XRP. This is connected to some kind of banking thing. This is a ERC20 operating on Ethereum. It's designed to work as a mobile payment method. The nature of the blockchain would play a great role for its use case, since it would offer a decentralized and borderless solution as faster compared to the majority of traditional transfer services. Another point is that mobile payment methods can be more accessible than banking systems in some places. Yes. So by looking at the chart, we were able to dissect exactly what the use case was on this project. Looking forward, where do you want to do research to figure out if you want to buy it or not yourself? The volume's a little low for this market cap. First, start comparing its competitors. You ask ChatGPT, who are some of the competitors of this? XRP is one of them. All of these projects are one of them. So what you're really looking for after you compare its competitors is you're looking for who's really using it. What's the actual real world use case? And then the next thing that you're going to do, and this is what in GameFi, nobody does. You guys remember the GFAL hype? Any of you OGs this cycle? Everybody was all going crazy for GFAL, and the games were just straight up lame, dog. They were like these card game collecting games. You would have never played a GFAL game for more than an hour. I guarantee you. Guarantee you. An American would never play that game. They are all awful. So you want to get the point I'm making here, not to diss GFAL. They might have some new games coming up, but always use the product. So what we want to do is we want to get in here and we want to do a digital transfer. Is this for me? Is this for a business? How much paperwork do I have to fill out? How many people can get their hands on this? How well does it work? So before I bought this, at least do those 3 steps. This is the 24-point checklist. This will be all 24 steps that we've been able to use to come up with these certified gems that lead to the top swing trade type of plans. We've got written up for you 7 reports. Desync's one of them, Spectral, DEAI. Those are AI focused. You can put them side by side and really absorb a lot more about AI. If you were to buy TARS or looking into getting into TARS, those reports can be very handy because you're looking at their competitors. So it'll give you just a huge eye-opening to your own research on TARS, as this is kind of like a flagpole that we can go off of. Took me a long time to write those. They're pretty good. And there's a lot of research in there. And it's the stuff you want to know for trading. So after the 24-point checklist, the next thing that I would do is, and while you're doing it, We have 84 questions that you can cut, copy, paste, ask AI. You can come up with some questions on your own. Go down rabbit holes with AI, read links, learn more, ask new questions. We have 84 questions, cut, copy, paste, that you just put the telecom in there, ready to go with the 24-point checklist. And then we've got the 5 key elements of a successful swing trade. And what this is going to help you do, this is what we really focus on niche-wise. There's a lot of guys that can teach you on-chain data. We're the only guys that are covering connecting it to this stuff. FOMC. And with central banks come regulation. So while they're cutting rates and getting ready to halt quantitative tightening, and perhaps if we get really lucky, we'll get quantitative easing, which means that the FOMC is going to be putting cash back on the street to explode risk on assets from stock to crypto. Regulations already gearing up, so hopefully the central banks will follow. And then that would be the final stage that we would say to go through before pulling the trigger. That's what we do. And then so in all of our trading plans, we're going through and pointing out to different resources like check the pattern directory, check the classic patterns, watch this video on those repeating trend lines that we were talking about caused by the emission and halving, or check the fundamental list, or most importantly, check these macroeconomic trends. And once we get done with these questions, we're going to pull up some documents on the BOJ because I don't want you guys to get burned. The Bank of Japan, you remember that carry trade? These guys are just waiting to hike rates. And so we want to take a look at that. And I'm going to show you guys what's going down on that because I got the scoop. That's a very reasonable assessment based on the historic data. As we can see, these FOMC meetings constantly have a massive effect on Kaspa. And just like with XRP, everybody's thinking, oh, that's the last cycle. That's, in my opinion, and if you were to get down and really track it, much more likely these guys, the super ballers that have so much cash, they're just trying to like avoid inflation on their billions and billions of dollars. So you can see, yeah, the FOMC meeting, absolutely, but Kaspa hasn't seen lots of run up before FOMCs. It has previously here. Most of the time it doesn't, well, it has actually here seen run up into it. So remember on the 6th, just to add a little bit onto what you're saying, Green Man, your statement, also the, jobs data, which it will be released on the 6th. Because if the jobs data comes in and is really weak, these guys already know the Fed now has to cut rates. That's their job. They're playing the monopoly money. This is all macroeconomics. When the bull market's fully roaring, everything's ripping, instead of looking at jobs, it'll flip around and we'll start to look at supply chain management, warehouse price index, because they'll be more worried about and concerned with controlling inflation. And we might be able to get a heads up as to when the whole party's going to stop before they even say, we're cutting rates, we're ending quantitative easing, or we're starting quantitative tightening again. We can get a heads up before that takes place. You're welcome, Roberto. Congratulations for finding us and taking the time to invest in yourself. Obviously, we want to buy books, take courses, learning to become a better trader. We have the top of the line program here, and it's while we're getting these awesome trading callouts like short Kaspa, buy Spectral, and all the other ones, the Moonwell at 3 cents, Moonwell's going to stop at 10. Even if you don't take the trade, because we link it all to this menu screen, you'll learn something too. Here's a cool projection on Bitcoin that will help for the bull run that we put up using the repeating trendline system, the origin trendline caused by the emissions and halvings. See that 86K and 93K mark? Oh, I already deleted that. We can set it up really quick. What happens when you put that angled Fibonacci on, just like we did on Kaspa with the y-axis, you set this up, and you can see it's still fitting like a glove to the price action. There's that 86K level, the red zone, and then there's that 93 top. This isn't exactly right, but it's close enough. You get the point. And then right around the 100K, it bounced off here. Oh, there we go. Bounces right off the bottom of the golden pocket. This is very useful stuff when the bull market gets going because we can have an idea of realistic range on top of classic patterns. We even see some of this in the spectral chart. With this blue zone here, let's zoom out. Right, so we've got the repeating trend line on Spectral, which is all based off of the symmetrical triangle that it broke out of. Our original trading plans were for down here at 520. Not going with the round number, just like the Moonwell 10. I actually scooped it up at 485. We get the breakout September 18th on rate cuts, and it takes this prior resistance, flips it to support. So this is our origin trend line, just like we went over on Kaspa and Tau. So we can do a Fibonacci pitch, and then when you zoom in a bit more, you can see how that golden pocket's acting as, let's get the buy zone out of the way here. We'll zoom in, and you can see that golden pocket just bounces off of it, and now we're talking about this blue zone extension a bit higher. And we're in there within a range. And you can see this is the head and shoulder pattern. This is exactly what Kaspa showed right before it crashed. And we've got a bunch of the recent head and shoulders. So you can be like, oh yeah, I know what these are, and connect them to the fundamentals. This was our BOJ warning. So we should take a moment to talk about that too. The Bank of Japan. This was the last time we recognized, like here, but this is the thing. We're not going to be like, yeah, let's take profit on Spectral, because what are you going to do with the profits? At this phase in the market, we kind of want to hold into quarter one, in my opinion. I mean, if you really want to start actively trading, you could recognize this third shoulder and then maybe cut it right around here. But I mean, this is about the downside. Maybe we'll get another retest back to 13 really quick and then jump back up to this blue zone, but might as well just hold through, right? Remove the fact that you butterfinger it off and you get the full upside rip. Depends on your risk to reward ratio. I mean, Tau is a huge project. Already, there's already billions in there. With your spec and your DEAI, you're taking on a bit more risk, but you're getting a bit more reward. Right now, in terms of selling Tau, I would say no. We have that trading plan where we were breaking down the symmetrical triangle that we're looking at right now. And it was formed by the two head and shoulders. So that symmetrical triangle, let me get my trading journal. We're going to see an upside of 150 to 200% there. So we probably want to just let that run, particularly while spec is, see these head and shoulders. We saw this also on PAAL. It would be multiple head and shoulders that form a symmetrical triangle. We also saw this on the total 3 itself. These head and shoulders, this is a big head and shoulders, right? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And then there's briefer time frame, head and shoulder right here. So we're seeing that trend on the total 3 with the breakout. So Tau's getting some upside right now. I wouldn't take profit out in the middle of a classical pattern breakout. We're also about to start forming new highs here. DEAI is poised for more upside right now, but taking on some risk right there. I would let this fully extend all the way. I would get this breakout into new all-time highs and then reassess the situation around here when we find the purple zone. That would make sense to me. Yes. But remember, it's while we're human beings, we often think in these lateral trend lines. There's the x-axis repeating trend line. This is the big boy that we got to get over. Once we flip over and we're on top of this, it's gravy. Now, what's likely to happen? Let's zoom out a bit here and do some bar pattern repeating. This is a great tool. So you get the breakout, right? And then a retrace back. That's a little bit bold in the size of the movement, but something like this, okay? So we're going to come up and then come back down and check off the top. This can happen. This can undoubtedly happen. And this also aligns with a lot of key dates. Notice how we have this big apex. What's that blue dotted trend line about? Is that the original y-axis? Yes, it is. So this was the original trend line. Support for the cup and resistance for the top. And that right now is in play. And that acted as support here, here, kind of in the BOJ, not really, definitely here. And so that kind of makes sense to me, if not just higher up there. Something like this could go down. So just because we cross it doesn't mean we're free and clear. We can often see touchbacks on the other side. Obviously, there's more steps to this with using indicators, stochastics and everything. With Spectral, because it's such a new listing and there's so few fingers on the scale, let's get this out of the way so it's a cleaner chart. With the one-day stochastics, this is exactly how we snagged Moonwell too. Look at how easy it is to buy Spectral. When this indicator goes down, you just buy it. Okay, and then it goes up and you get paid. This one goes down, you buy it. It's really not that complex. Because it's a new listing, we get the benefits of this indicator working clean. This would be if we could go back in time to when the stock market first got digitalized and use our technical analysis now. The stock market used to be clean. You used to be able to make boatloads of cash using indicators like this. That day's gone because there's so many fingers on the scales now, just wiggling around from AI to anything, dark pools. So some guys in VIP were like, well, when should we get a bag inside the Discord? And I was like, well, wait for the 4 hour to pull back. That was yesterday. And now the 4 hours starting to pull back. And this gets complicated. There's other ways that you can use other pendulum oscillators. These are similar to RSI, but they oscillate, meaning they swing like a pendulum side to side. And when you get them all lining up in sync, it triggers upside. We use this exact same call out on Moonwell. So back here, 3 cents. So we were VIP radar here, waiting for rate cuts. We're getting close to the FOMC. So we're like, oh yeah, we're going to catch it on some retrace, trying to be cute and get it for less than 2.5 cents. We eventually get it at 3 stick that one solidly, buying it with add-ons the whole way up because we recognized it was a cup and handle pattern. It was going to perform really well. Recently, then again, we got another one-day stochastic retrace and some TA combined with fundamentals because the minutes was about to get released. This is what caused the massive spike. Over the past 4 days, they released a document in the FOMC. And what that document says is we're cutting rates in December, which is going to fuel Satoshi's vision, the Satoshi secret. As the rates go down, money comes out of the monopoly money pool that the central banks control. Utilizing guys like Rich Dude, they're like, yeah, man, we'll give you 5%. Just let us hold all your cash, bro. This way they control inflation. And then eventually they're holding too much money every 4 years. And then they got to start stimulating the economy. So with Kaspa, my point being showing you those indicators, it's a lot more complex now because the chart's becoming more mature. But from the utilization of stochastic indicators, oscillations, they're just like RSI mathematically, slightly different. We can identify, obviously the best time to buy it is when they're at the low. And then you get them when they're breaking to the upside. And they do all kinds of funky stuff. It's not just that easy as it was on Spectral. A lot of times there's like bull flags, like look at right here. Okay. Back during the original God candle, we got the 10x leverage trade out to everybody on the main channel here. FOMC meeting happens right here. It's a cup and handle into an ascending triangle. We know it's on. We know the FOMC is going to be the trigger. So we're like, dude, this is it. 10x leverage trade Kaspa right now. People thought I was like the magician. They thought I was Nostradamus. And then I took them all behind the curtain. Everybody was like, dude, you got to get a VIP going right now. Took everybody behind the curtain. And then they're like, oh, okay, now we can do this trick too. Not so clever, are you, sneaky guy? So you can see it's doing a bull flag here. So it was already oscillated to the top. And that means you got to use other oscillators. And we have videos on it and multiple trading patterns. That's why we have a VIP, because there's so many rabbit holes that we have to cover to really get you to where you want to be. We can't just repeat them every single video, but you can figure it out. It's doable. You can find the swing low, and get a good price. So yeah, everything it's ready to go, guys. This is going to be epic. The KII leaking information to us. They've got smart contracts on the Ethereum virtual machine. They have ISO 222 filed Kaspa. This document is disproving what everyone on social media is saying right now, which is another reason why I would ask you to subscribe, like, share this video with your friends, so they can realize that no, it wasn't everybody from the last cycle creating a giant $3 billion candle on XRP. It was most likely this guy type of people. The market makers, the VCs, who are in an entirely different financial game than us. We're trying to get rich. They're trying to protect their wealth. So Kaspa, amongst many things, will be one of these. ISO 220 compliant. Also, great call out, by the way, guy who brought up this coin, because this might be ISO 220 compliant as well. And you could check that out on ChatGPT when you're doing research for it. But that's why the upside took place. An up and coming catalyst for this will be when the regulation is actually removed. And if you guys have some extra free time, check out this Joe Rogan podcast. Very interesting stuff. This guy's big into crypto. He's got his own VC. Use Crypto Rank, by the way. Great tool. Shows you who the VCs are. Shows you everything that's up and running. So yeah, everything's ripping. There's still projects that we can get at rock bottom swing low prices in certain sectors. That's what we're covering right now in VIP. We're also doing add-ons into the 24-point gems as we go. If you're just entering the market now or you already have a bag, these can help you save cash and correlate this with the FOMC data, which is going to help you sell the top. So huge value inside VIP as we're moving forward. Once this final round of buying everything swing low, these final sectors connect to the dot plot and they start moving upwards, it's going to be a lot more leverage trading, low leverage, 3x type of things to see upside. Like with render, originally we had gotten everybody in at 5 or under on a swing trade, and then doing a light leverage or another swing trade at 777 for additional upside. As this falling wedge hasn't yielded its full profit. Very similar to Tau. This is still breaking out. We don't want to take profit out, particularly when any classic pattern's playing out, because we have insight. Meanwhile, the upside might not be that great, right? It's another couple $100, but it's even more valuable because we know where it's going. We know it's going up for sure. We've got everything, the fundamentals, the FOMC, and the classical pattern, which shows us market psychology. So when you're filling up your bag, like for me, okay, I'm thinking on Monday I might buy some DEAI, which is ready to break out, or I might buy some more Moonwell. I'm leaning towards Moonwell, even though I think I'm going to be able to get more upside from DEAI because I know I'll be able to chart Moonwell better. Meaning when the top forms on Moonwell, I'm going to sign my name, Jesse AI. Sold the exact top. And of course, we're hoping to do that on Kaspa. Planning to do it to a T. Sell Kaspa on the exact top. Right? Depending on when you were in the market, everybody had a different opportunity to buy the low. Right? We're scooping in here. But everybody's in for the bull run. And so we're going to separate the men from the boys when the bull run kicks off. Because we're going to see who sells the top. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be me. I'm the guy that's going to sell the top. That's just how it's got to be. So still hard at work formulating that. We're working with AI on some mathematical variables for how many times is it most advantage to dollar cost average out. This goes into portfolio development as well. Obviously, if you have 10 or more picks, you can see how that's a disadvantage. Because how are you going to track all those projects? How are you going to study all those charts and like really give it your best go? You know, if you were to just do one project and be like, okay, I'm going to sell the top on this versus 10, you know you would do better on selling the top on just that one. So on top of all this fundamental FOMC, on-chain dynamics, and technical analysis, there's also mathematical factors of how many times we should dollar cost average out. In a portfolio scenario, one project that's going to do a 20x and you dollar cost out 4 times from it, that'll yield a 15x. Meanwhile, if you have 4 positions that on average will do 20x and you dollar cost out of each one of them 4 times, that only yields 10.5x. So you can see consolidation is the stronger variable. So for everybody with a large bag in Kaspa, still time to diversify into DeFi, AI, GameFi, the next sector looking to go up, and get ready for it, because this is going to be one epic bull run. Absolutely. All right, guys, Make sure that you've got your eyes open on December 6th. Oh, wait a minute. We got to cover this Bank of Japan carry trade really quick for everybody who's watching. We'll bring up the documents later this week. There's some conflict in Japan, and this is leading them to postpone the rate hikes. So they're leaning against this going down, this Bank of Japan meeting in December. It could happen in January instead. That's the word on the street right now. So something to be aware of. This will have less effect than the prior Bank of Japan carry trade, but it's a surprise that's floating out there. So just be mindful when that's going on and keep one eye on over the seas. All right, guys. Thanks for checking out this video. We'll catch you on the next one.